And another new controversy tonight in California over legislation that would protect unlicensed drivers, that is, illegal immigrants, from arrest. The legislation would essentially prohibit officers from detaining drivers at DUI checkpoints and immediately impounding their cars if their only offense is not having a license. Instead, they would simply receive a citation. Police would then be forced to try to find the registered owner of the car. Supporters say it will keep police checkpoints from being turned into traps for illegal immigrants who cannot obtain driver's licenses. Critics of the legislation argue it will have damaging implications for highway safety. The bill currently sitting on Governor Jerry Brown's desk. He has yet to express an opinion as to whether or not he will sign it. Joining me now, three of my favorite American voices, WMAL radio talk show host Chris Plant. Chris, great to have you with us. Tom Fitton, president of Judicial Watch. Tom, good to see you. And Larry Young, WOLB radio talk show host. Thanks for being here, Larry. And let's start with you, Larry. What do you think? California needs this legislation urgently, wouldn't you say?
I would be cautious, as I understand Governor Brown is. I need a little bit more information than what you just shared with us. My instincts is I think I would lean towards signing it.
You would lean towards signing it?
I would.
How about you, Chris?
This is a classic example of California going over a cliff. It's becoming loony land out there. They're trying to avoid enforcing immigration law by avoiding enforcing laws having to do with driver's licenses. They want to not enforce this law so they don't have to enforce this law. People without driver's licenses are 5 times as likely to be involved in fatal car accidents. Let's start with that. Let's wake up. Let's enforce immigration law. Let's enforce traffic law. Let's enforce the law. Let's not turn into Cambodia over there. The place is turning into Jonestown. It's time they started waking up and doing the right thing instead of the loony thing.
Tom Fitton, the idea of enforcing the law, Chris has just interjected an almost unrecognizable thought in our public discourse here of late.
Well, it kind of shows the dishonesty of the other side of the immigration debate. They have no interest, as Chris pointed out, in enforcing the laws against illegal immigration. But now the Obama administration has suggested that if you're here illegally and then commit another crime, you may get deported. So what's the solution there? Well, don't enforce any laws concerning those other crimes, like driving without a license. It's a deadly opportunity. It's a deadly consequence that will occur if this law is passed. More people will die on California highways, and you'll have more illegal aliens flooding into California as if they don't have enough problem there.
All right, Larry, what do you think? Well, you know what I want to do first, Larry? Let's play this. Donald Rumsfeld responding to a question about whether or not he had regrets in the Bush administration. And interestingly, he expressed some thoughts on the issue of radical Islamist terrorism and the way in which the Bush administration responded. If you will listen to this.
For whatever reason, Americans are very reluctant to talk about radical Islamism and Islamists. We don't want to be seen as against a religion. And so the Bush administration didn't do a good job. We were careful, and words were always sensitive, and we never, you can't win a battle of ideas, a combination of ideas, unless you describe the enemy, say who it is, say what's wrong with it, say what we do and why that's what's right. We did that in the Cold War. We defeated communism, and we were tongue-tied over this, and the Obama administration is much worse. They won't even use the word.
Political correct run amok. And by the way, I'll tell you, Larry, before I ask you the question whether or not you agree with him, I was blackballed by the Bush administration at the end of 2002 and 3 because I insisted, after spending a week and a half with Islamic scholars, Middle Eastern experts, to define the enemies that make up our rivals in the war on terror, to come up with the words radical Islamist is the most descriptive and accurate nomenclature. And it's interesting that his regrets are centered on the very issue that caused the Bush administration, some quarters of it at least, to blackball me. What do you think, Larry?
Well, first of all, I deeply regret anyone in this country would see fit to put you in a position of being blackballed. I think your credibility is high. Doesn't always mean I agree with what you state. But regarding Mr. Rumsfeld, as far as I'm concerned, his credibility, along with Dick Cheney, all these guys are coming along attacking Bush. It's beginning to make me wonder how critical I've been of this man when indeed I thought he was doing the political correct thing. I believe the Obama administration is doing the political correct thing. We cannot swipe every Islamic with this new tune, this new atmosphere. I was so proud yesterday of our country to come together, all of us, no party, no ideology. We were Americans, and I felt good about us as all of Americans.
Tom Fitton,
I'm
sorry, we got to jump. We're on time. Tom Fitton, your thoughts?
Well, liberals are only critical of national security policy when Republicans are conducting it, and so we have President Obama killing thousands through drone attacks that would have seen Bush impeached over.
All right, Chris Plante, you get the last word. About 20 seconds.
Well, I love Secretary Rumsfeld. We went to the same high school, as a matter of fact, and of course I covered him at the Pentagon when he was there. He's correct. We have failed to define the enemy correctly. You described the enemy correctly. Secretary Rumsfeld describes the enemy correctly, and the fact that we observed the 10-year anniversary yesterday, and we're still talking about the terminology should be very disturbing, and there are political reasons behind that, unfortunately.
And too often not expressed or understood. Chris Plante, Tom Fitton, Larry Young. We'll be right back. Thank you very much, gentlemen.